There we go. How's it going? Forgot to turn on my little pictures and stuff. Wonder why that didn't work. Where's the... Huh. What the hell happened to the... There we go. There we go. Okay. So, as usual. All right. That's the most retarded looking version of him I've ever seen. Fucking Sparkle Troll made that. This is only a little bit better. Am I live? Anybody there? Okay, there we are. Yep. How's it going? Okay, so the first thing is you gotta get me. Okay. So the cam's off for just a second while I get set up here. Just wanna. Ah. Okay. Hello, Tony. How's it going? Checking out my Star Wars thing. How about that for a map, man? It's huge. That's the Star Wars map. Just checking out to see if anybody is going to check my live out. Yeah, it's a big one. Downloaded it and put it in there. Yeah. So, according here, check this out. This is how big it is. Get out our trusty little ruler. Oh, got to get inches. It is about 225 inches, which would make 18 feet, man. It's like a Bayliner boat. 18 feet. So it's let's see. The galaxy. The problem with Star Wars stuff is not really, I guess, is that really a problem? But there's like 100 maps of the galaxy, and a lot of them are totally different. So what one's official? I don't know. But this one works good enough. So then what I do next is I want it to be like you ever seen any of those old war movies or whatever, and they're in the command post or bunker or headquarters or whatever, and they're reading messages, and there's all those other like privates. They've got like hockey sticks or whatever the hell, and they're pushing little flags and shit around. So yeah, like that. So what I do is I open up this little thing. Oop, gotta hit that button first. Okay. And then and then I go here, search. So yeah, I'll be Robin's or Magenta. Robin, she's sick again. So it's just me tonight, and I'll be doing these every night, and maybe more than one a day or something, because I got to get some material out there, and the whole Twitter thing is shit. That's useless. Most of the people on there are just so I've been wasting a lot of money and time on Twitter because I had this big following, and I thought, well, I don't want to start with nothing, but I mean, most of the people don't listen to anything I say, and it's just kind of a waste of time. And I'm spending $8 a month on it, which is idiotic. So I'm gonna just forget about that kind of stuff and just do YouTube and some other places that I won't have as many followers, and it'll have to get people to show up and all that crap. But I think it's better to try to find people who show up that actually want to do something, because the people on Twitter, they don't want to do shit. They're just trolls and shit. So, but anyway, so I got these little models. Okay. Find the rest of them. Gotta get the big shit out. Let's see. So this is like having miniatures without, like, they're virtual miniatures, which that's Battlestar Galactica, but whatever. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So for now, that'll start. So I got these. So I have to see what you do. Oh, did you watch that shit? So I was trying to get, there was like all these people that said they were watching, or see, like right now it tells me there's two people watching, but they might not. Okay, there's one on it. It always says there's somebody on Twitch, whether there is or not. Uh, and then for a while, it was telling me that there was like 11 people watching me on YouTube. And I'm like, that's great, but I couldn't get anybody to say anything. So I thought it was all fake. So, but yeah, these guys are irritating. And I started to get a little bit angry about it. And the night before that, I was kind of PO'd at some people too. And I wanted to say it without being mean. And then Robin, she just kept going on and on trying to stop me. And it just sounded stupid, like we were arguing. But last night it was just me and that one other guy, and I was pretty pissed. So the thing that makes me mad is all those games that I played D&D with, like Mike and Matt and Andy and Jason and all that, and a bunch of people in the neighborhood as a young kid. I played with a lot of the neighborhood kids, and sometimes all at once. And we played these. I got them to play these particular way of playing. Now I got these complete strangers on the internet saying, "Oh no, you didn't do that. Only we did that." And anyway, I don't know. People go, "Oh, you get too wound up about trolls and things, whatever." But they get, they're just another group of people that make Twitter an insufferable toilet of stupid, and I feel like an idiot for paying $8 a month for that kind of crap. So, and these games, man, they'd be fun if people actually played them instead of all they ever do is go, they're too hard to play and all that shit. I mean, I played them with those guys, and some of those guys, they're not very smart people, and they didn't have any problem doing it. But now a 55-year-old man who thinks he's a well-read, cultured, educated individual is telling me that the same game we played on a Saturday afternoon is too hard to play, takes too long, you could never finish it. People are stupid. What the hell's that about? So it kind of gets annoying. But anyway, enough of that negative shit. So right now I have some people. So it's like all the people that play D&D are kind of, not all of them, but like the people who like talk all the time about it. They're not real fun to deal with. So, but it seems like for a long time it was hard to find people that wanted to play Star Wars, but now there's some people who want to play Star Wars, and they don't do that dumb shit. They just want to play, which is great. So I'm setting this up just to play with people who want to play instead of talk about how, certain rules and all this stuff. So anyway, there's that. Now I gotta close this. Yeah, it was. It was like that with the other guy. Is just, But anyway, it was like that with the other guy. So I make these smaller. All the way down. Now the problem is and I don't know why. I'm sure there's some technical reason that I really don't care to know, but you weren't able to make them small enough, and certain ones can't be as small as other ones for some weird reason. So is that really scale? Not really, but whatever. Like this should be a little bit bigger. I'd love to have these get as small as this, but you can't. So if I wanted to go to scale, I'd have to there. Now it's about the same size. Right, just get right over it. But that doesn't. The thing is, the figure itself, it's fiddly. It doesn't matter. But there you go. Okay. Anyway, so now what we do is when we make them small, they're still kind of too big, but whatever. Best you can do is we put them into places and they represent different, like for instance, put this guy down here. Whoops, grabbed the wrong guy. Where's the other one? Well, we'll start with this guy. All right. So what I'm looking for now is I'm on the internet just because I can't remember every damn name. So I'm going to the internet to get this name. Okay, what was it? Okay, did you hear something that sounded familiar for a minute there? Oh, WRSF1 target. Oh yeah, yeah. That's not really one. So I know this isn't exactly super exciting. Oh, dude, I did get a bunch of uh, like, oh, you don't have one of them. Well, some of them work on Android. You don't even have that though. You got to get a computer. I found a bunch of like Nintendo, like you can play Nintendo games on a computer, like for free. And some of the programs that run these, they let you connect over the internet. Like remember, like if you play like Double Dribble or Blades of Steel, you played against another person. You know, there's two controllers and all that shit. Okay, so these programs, they let you play that way over the internet. So you can be player one, I can be player two. We can play the same game, you know, like a Nintendo where you have it, you know what I mean? But over the internet on a computer. It's so cool. So yeah, man, you gotta get that going. That would be great. So that would be fun. You know, of course, shit like that. They say you can do that, and then you try to get it to, you know, and it might not work or whatever. But it's worth a try because that sounds like it'd be fun. So, so the first thing you do here is delete all of this shit. Oh, I can't save. So, delete all this. Okay. So I know I spelled that wrong because I'm stupid. But anyway, so what that does, so you can, when you mouse over it, spell it right. Don't be a dummy. Okay. I think we got enough room for fleet. So when you mouse over it, it tells you that. Okay. So now you got the thing. Now you know who it is. So what I do then, yeah, right. It got a computer. It works. Some of them actually work on like Apple phones and shit, but I don't know if this one does. I'll have to look at it. But so the next thing I do is now that I've got, well, first I got to open that. I wonder if that'll even open shit. I forgot about that part. Let's give it a try. Yeah, I was I was a little bit naughty mouthed last night. Those guys make me mad though. So, and I didn't like one guy came in and tried to steal and all that shit. You know, I just not interested in it. So, all right, this is back on. That's cool. So, what I'm doing is I'm just getting to the part where I have the. Anyway, the general thing is I'm so I have these. It's not in the exact right plot. So there. So you put them. They're a little too big, but just kind of put them in the vicinity of the planet that they're they start the campaign at. So, uh, and I have different models that represent different things. So, at this stage of the where's the one I'm looking for? There he is. At this stage of things, there has been a slow um, what do you call it? Like a transition in the kind of ships that the Empire is using. It's a huge galaxy. It takes a long time to move around in. It has a lot of ships. So even though uh, it's like 18 years after uh, Revenge of the Sith, that movie or whatever, there's still a lot of outfits that are look more like the the Republic Navy than the Imperial Navy, and they have the older ships and stuff like that. So this represents one of the older ships that have or older fleets that have mostly older ships, and they're conducting operations in this area. So uh, the Venerators represent a surface fleet, like a superiority force. They're filled with ships that are meant to engage other capital ships, and then the Acclamator is represents fleets that are filled with troop assault forces that are meant to go down on to planet surfaces and take things over and stuff like that. And they generally work in tandem. So, um, so they get a name like this, usually the person who's commanding it, um, and some sort of designation. And then what I do is I have some sheets that I keep for myself that tell me exactly what's inside that. So that ship, that model, is representing a fleet of many ships. And on the sheet that I keep, it'll tell me exactly what ships and all that. So the players can command these fleets. They can, depending on how many players I get. Right now, I have several on both sides, and they command different portions of it. And then there's one on each side that's kind of the overall commander. And they're playing like it's just like that. Well, not just like, but it's similar to like that game Rebellion that we used to play. It's like that, fairly similar. And so I'm trying to get people, to play that sort of stuff. I used to have a bunch of things for D&D and all that, but those people, that play D&D, they just started to become a drag, So I prefer Star Wars over this. So hopefully I can get these new Star Wars people to play. But so then today I worked on the economics of it. Um, so I had a whole thing on that I was talking about earlier. I tried to talk about it earlier, and I screwed everything up. So here's the economics. Is really like I did a whole big thing on it. So I came up with this. Where'd it go? Okay. The economy and system includes goods, commodities, service, and black market items that shape the galactic trade, smuggling, and planetary economies of the Star Wars galaxy. So players can be engaged in this kind of economic game as well. So I've got raw materials and commodities. These are things that build stuff, metals and minerals and fuel and sources of energy and stuff like that. Kind of raw materials that build things. Then there's food and consumer goods, food and alcoholic beverages, because some places they don't like alcohol. So sometimes you might be you could like a smuggler could be running booze, or they could be running drugs or something like that. There's illicit substances, or well, there's more. There's building and selling vehicles, civilian vehicles like Luke Speeder car thing, military vehicles, giant starships, stuff like that. So the economy of building and selling those. Services and professional work. Now, there's supposed to be role playing in this game as well. And so, like, say you're a smuggler, but you get busted. You might need a lawyer. So there's legal services. And all that is this is how much you have to pay for a lawyer and stuff like that. It's not really complicated. Illegal and underground services, which we kind of got into, smuggling and, drug running and drug selling and stuff like that. And then there's mercenary work and, private intelligence work and detectives and things like that. So then I have a list of all the different commodities that you can find on planets that you can drill and harvest and sell and use to build things. And a bunch of other things that come up when you're building your cities and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more, and this is why I don't know if anybody will play, because Christ, everything is it's too complicated. But I like to have a big game, so like you can like build cities and stuff too. So it's not just when I'm running around with a blaster shooting things. There's all sorts of things you can do in here. So, and, play like Star Wars Sim City. So I have things you can build, like luxury hotels and hospitality suites and so stuff like that. Entertainment, like hollow theaters and musicians and actors and stuff like Hollywood. So anyway. So then I have some stuff for well, like stock markets and investing. Oh, you did. Cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. So anyway, so that stuff runs. Yeah, you can if you take over a planet, you and it doesn't have anything built on it, you can build stuff and you can play Sim City games with it, things like that. It is. It is from Star Trek as well. There is Hollow Theater in Star Trek, but there is also Hollow Theater in Star Wars as well. So, but yeah. Yep. There's music too and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah. Somewhere I had AI actually make up songs that were like there was a part in one of these role playing game books that talked about a bunch of bands, and it even had names of their music and a little bit about what the individual song was. And I had an AI make a song, but it only made one, and then I couldn't find it because I thought I downloaded it, but I didn't. I don't know, some fucking thing. And I went back and asked it to do some more because I thought it'd be fun. And then they wanted like $12 for one song, and fuck that, I ain't paying that. So I gave up on that. But I thought it was neat because it actually made up the song. But I did get it to at least write out the lyrics, even though they don't have any music. But yeah, right, yep. So, and that's the other one I want to do. I've got a whole thing for Star Trek too. But Twitter, it's like most people are about fantasy, and all they ever do is complain about. It's boring. So, um, I just kind of gave up on it. It hasn't been very fun, and it doesn't do anything good for me. So, and I'm thinking I'm paying a lot of money every month. I'm going to run out of money soon. I don't have very much in my bank, and I'm blowing it away on this crap, and I got to stop. So I'm going to close. I'm going to stop with the Twitter and um, um, YouTube's free. So I mean, technically Twitter is too, but anyway. So I loved it playing this game. I'm hoping I can get some people to play it with me and all that sort of stuff. I'm still going to make my game and that was another thing. One of the reasons I was getting mad is these dudes that in that little from yesterday, they just kind of wanted me to run me out. And I just, yeah, I pay for Twitter. Here's the thing. Here's what happened. When they started doing the pay for Twitter thing, it was supposed to increase your reach. It was supposed to give you more credibility on the site so that you could reach more people. Okay. And it was going to give me access to its AI and some other things. The ability to edit text. So, because if you used to not be able to even edit a text, like if you wrote something out and you go, oh shit, I misspelled that word, fuck it, you're screwed. You either delete the thing and redo it, or you leave it the way it is and look like you can't spell. But if you delete it and redo it, it hurts how many people see you, like permanently. If you keep deleting and it's such a stupid system. So I ain't playing with that. Okay, so I'll pay for it. And I had a little bit more money, so I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. If I pay for it and I'm starting to sell, because I thought I was going to start selling stuff right away. Well, I did. So I've been paying for it because I felt like if I stop paying for it, it's going to be even worse. Nobody will ever see me and all that stuff. So I just kept paying for it. But over time, I realized, so. And all these people on the thing, it sucks. So I got to stop paying for it. At first it did. And then it was just kind of at first it really did help a lot. And then slowly it started to stop doing that. And I thought, well, okay, if I stop paying now, it'll really start to suck. And then it went back up and all this stuff. So like, if you look at it, some days I'm doing great, some days I'm not. And I don't know what, this machine is it just sucks. So, but I'm like, well, the other things that it does are helpful, like allowing me to edit my tweets, allowing me to type more in a tweet, allowing me to see, how many people have looked at a tweet and all that shit. So I thought that's still worth it. But, now that I've come to the conclusion that communication with most people on Twitter is a fucking waste, and they're just 90% of them are trolls, and a lot of people that say that they are there for games and stuff like that. They have a game profile, and then all they're doing is talking politics anyway. And you don't know till you start reading their stuff or you follow them, and all of a sudden, hey, what about games? So it's a mess. But then all the other people. So anyway, back to Star Wars. So I'm making these things up. I mean, I won't get rid of it, but I just think I'll stop paying for it. Is what it is, because all the people say, all like I went to, what do you call it? Like one of those gurus or whatever, and they're like, you got to have everybody. You got to be on all these platforms. But he was like, you spend too much time on Twitter anyway. You got to spend some more time on the other ones. So, oh, that's right. It does this at the edges. Okay, there we go. All right. So anyway, so down in this area, we have what we call the separatist holdouts. In certain places. They're still there because they don't all just like that whole Confederacy thing doesn't just stop because they killed the, like, I don't remember if you remember the movies, but in the movie, in the number 3 prequel, Anakin Skywalker goes in there and just starts slaughtering like the leaders of it or whatever. So he does that, but they don't. I mean, there's millions of planets and millions of troops and stuff and they don't just all go, okay, well, I guess they killed that one guy named Gunray, so I'll give up. Some of them keep fighting for years and stuff like that. And so that's what they mean by separatist holdouts. These groups of forces that still fight. And even after all this time, they're still around because getting around in the galaxies takes a long time. So, so I'm laying out these different units, and I've got models that aren't yet used. The reason I have them out is just so that they're easily accessible when the time comes to use them. But it'll show the positions of this is the one from here's the wild part. This is the Imperial one. This whole board, there'll be a whole second version of this board that'll be for the other side, the rebel side. And it won't have the same stuff that this one has. It'll have only what the rebel players can see. So I'll be keeping this on 2 different modules. But the reason I do that is so that it's more, there's more tension and it's more interesting because I don't want people to be able to see what they wouldn't be able, to know. You can have that way, what they call double blind. You can use intelligence and things like that to determine where things are. So you get that kind of deal going on. Makes it real fun. But and the biggest problem with stuff like this is I've done it before down in the basement, and had a lot of fun doing it. But you try to tell people that you can do something like this, and you explain all that's involved, and they go, you get all the usual stuff. That's too hard to play. It bogs the game down too much. But so you have this great game that would be a lot of fun if you could get a lot of people to play it, but most people just absolutely refuse to accept that we used to play this kind of stuff all the time. And yes, we finished it because we had a place where we could keep it. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to happen in half an hour. If you think that, no game does, but you can play and leave it set up and, make it like a weekly thing or something like that. Like we used to play, every Friday, Saturday, I should say. And you can finish it, sure. But most people are just absolutely convinced that if you don't just keep this thing to flipping a coin, it becomes some burdensome thing that can't be accomplished. You can't change their mind. That's why I kind of gave up on Twitter, because that's all those people ever say on Twitter. It's all the same thing. It's too hard to play. It takes too long. Too hard to play. It takes too long. Okay. Then why are you doing it? Here's a question. Why are you playing Star Wars? I thought Lucas just, well, he did. So here's the thing about that. Then you get those people too. What do they say? Star Wars is dead to me. Oh, why is that? Well, Disney did this, that, and the other thing. Oh. Well, I mean, yeah, that sucks, but is it really that big of a deal? Oh, yeah, that cult, and they get all upset about it. And you go, okay, well, then okay. But so now you hate everything Star Wars? Well, this is what this is what one dude said to me, and I was like, what? He's like, it hurts too much to, and he might have been just janking my cane or whatever, but I was like, what? It hurts too much to even think about Star Wars because of what they've done to it. I thought so if you think I'm bad, and here's what I've come to, made a slight alteration. And here's why. Because that shit isn't going. I mean, I know they're still making stuff. Oh, I can't say bad words because I have to act like everybody's a 10-year-old kindergartner or whatever. And God forbid, I say a naughty word on. But if I know they're still making TV shows, but I don't watch TV anymore. I'm not going to, when they went to Netflix was one thing, and that was bad enough. But when all of a sudden everything went that way with the streaming and I don't have TV. I don't care. It's not. I haven't watched TV in years, with the exception of I've walked past a TV and saw something on the screen, or had it on when I'm talking to my parents and not paying any attention to it. I So technically I have, but generally, I don't go to the TV and go, hey, I'm going to go watch what's on. I hate it. So if they're still making stuff, I don't care. And here's the thing. It doesn't pollute anything Star Wars if you don't let it. Instead of worrying about what they're putting on the screen, now I have what I thought I had. Is let me back up. Well, the first thing that happened was is I thought people were playing old RPGs. When I heard the term, there was a term that came up on Twitter a couple of years ago that I first learned. I don't know how old it is, but it first came across my timeline and it said OSR. And I go, what's that mean? They said, well, that means old school Renaissance. Well, to me, that meant that they were going to play old games. And I know that's not strictly the definition of Renaissance, but I'm like, some people are like, well, it means revival to some people. I'm like, revival? Are they going to play old games? Great. So I thought there was going to be people that were going to start playing Star Wars RPG again. And an RPG is making your own story. Now you don't have to worry about what they're handing you from Disney or Lucas or anybody. You can do it the way you think it should be done. And you can play it interactively instead of sitting passively and watching a story. So I hear that, and it took me a long time, but I finally got, because Twitter was not letting me, talk to enough people, but I finally got 5 people to play some Star Wars. And I'm like, this is great. Now I can enjoy Star Wars and I don't care about what TV. I'm just going to ignore it, and I can make my own stories and have fun and all that. And then that kind of fell apart because people have jobs and schedules change and stuff like that. So I've been trying to find more people to play Star Wars. And as long as I can play a Star Wars game, that's different, because I can make that game contain only the stuff that I find interesting and have the continuity that I want. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm hoping now. So I've been trying for like a year and a half to get people to come back and play after it fell apart. So I'm hoping that I found a bunch of people that said that they had been looking at West End games and that they were interested in Star Wars. And I'm hoping they'll come and play this game. And that'll be great. But what I found with Twitter is there's a lot of people who like to talk. There's a lot of people who will say they'll do something or express interest in doing something until it's time to actually do it. Then they have excuses or they just simply evaporate. I've had I had 30 some people over the course of a year say, I'd love to play some Star Wars. I'll join your Discord. I'll talk to you about it and I'll play. And a lot of them, that was the last thing they ever typed to me on the internet, and I never saw them again, and they never came around. I had one person who said they were going to, well, more than one, but I remember this one guy did it 3 times in a row, 3 weeks in a row. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. I'm going to play. I'm going to play. Okay. We're starting at such and such a time. And he'd never show up. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry that, I got stuck in traffic. Some jackass kind of ridiculous dog ate my homework. And, but I was kind of pissed, but Magenta was like, hey, man, that kind of thing really does happen to people. Maybe you should cut him some slack. Okay, fine. So 3 weeks in a row, it was some stupid excuse. And I go, why isn't this guy just saying I can't do it? And he never did. And I even said to him, why don't you just, you keep making this guy, so the guy stopped following me and talking to me and interacting with me. Instead of just going, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I really did want to play this, but looks like I can't. He just jerked us all around for 3 weeks. We sat around waiting for him for 15 minutes every session. And then, just rude. So I had a lot of that. So I'm going to try this one last time. And if not, I ain't ever going to talk about these fucking games on any of these things anymore because people just suck. I just hate being jerked around. Things happen. Things change. Some people have been very, I really wanted to do it, but, and so even then they sound like they're excuses, but at least they had, one guy's like, well, my old lady said I couldn't. Really? That's what you're going to do? You're going to blame your wife? Okay. So people are really weird, and they're weirder on the internet because they don't have to suffer any consequences. It's not like if I did weird shit like that to people that I saw every day, they'd be like, yeah, whatever happened with that? Why did you do that? Why are you, why can't you just, but they're never going to see me again. I even heard one guy say it one time. Not about me, but he said something. He's like, hey, I wanted to try this kind of game, but I didn't want to waste a whole day in real life on it. So I just, and he's telling like people on the internet, a lot of people this. And he says, so what I did is I joined some online game that was playing the kind of thing that I wanted to test. And he's like, it didn't matter. If it sucked, I could just blow them off and just evaporate. So that's the kind of courtesy that people have, a total lack of it. I'll go ahead and waste a bunch of strangers' time because fuck them. I don't, they're strangers. It won't, no skin off my back if I waste their time and ruin their game by just going, I'm turning it off because I don't like it. So that's the downside of playing on the internet. The upside is I don't have to go deal with people that act like that in public because I've been into, in gaming stores where there was some autistic 18-year-old kid who couldn't stop swearing in a public place in front of 10-year-old children and stunk like he had never taken a bath and had no manners and all. So, and I drove a long way to that store so I could play a game and find out that everybody there is just a bunch of mealy-mouthed childish dicks. And I've wasted a lot of time. I went all the way down to near, what the hell was that? South Shore Mall or whatever one time. There was a place where a guy had a small store. And I went in there and the place was crowded. Most of the people stank. They were about half my age and they were just ill-mannered jerks. And I thought, at least on the internet, if somebody's saying rude things to you, you can, disconnect. But anyway, not for the bad mouthing of things, but that's the kind of deal that I get with these people. So, but hopefully I can play it. But yeah, that's a very long answer to a very short question, but that's really what it is. So I tell these people, I go, what is really, how can you say you're so you were so much of a fan, you were so devoted of a fan of this movie and this series that you're that heartbroken when somebody ruins it, and then just completely ignore that it ever happened and just throw it away. Those two things don't jive. If you didn't care, if you don't care enough, you know what I mean? You were never really a fan. What they're mad about is they're one of these culture political warriors, and they're mad that a lot of stuff is being, and I agree. It makes me mad, but you really weren't a fan of the series. You're just angry at the people that are doing what they're doing because they're doing it to a bunch of stuff. So there's people that just never really were. So we'll see if these guys that, you know, that I'm trying to contact are actual real fans and we can maybe play. But even if I do that, they'll probably be like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of complicated. So we'll see. But after that, I just got, if it doesn't work this time, I just throw these fucking games in the garbage. I found a place that that will buy collections. So I'm thinking of going to instead of going over the internet and having to try to sell every piece of game I've got one by one to people. I thought maybe I'd go get an estimate from these folks and maybe sell the whole thing to them, especially the role-playing game stuff, because it's starting to get irritating to deal with those people. They're not, you know, everything's hard. Everything's takes too long. Boring. So, but anyway, so these different models, like I say, say different things. This is a older support fleet, you know, this smaller Corvette. And see if I can get this thing down smaller. Okay, that's all the way. And then, of course, the Star Destroyer that's probably very familiar to you here. That means a more modern Imperial fleet. So what happens is in the game is the person that a player will say, okay, I'm well, like, I'll give you an example by using the web. I made this thing, so I might as well use it to make an example. It's funny that you saw that. How come you didn't say nothing? I kept saying to people, hey, if anybody else is in this chat, why don't you speak up? You didn't say nothing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Somewhere I got the Superstar Destroyer too. We'll put that in if it comes up. So, but anyway, so what's happened so far is in this little area. Let's see if I can get the little thing to. So here at this planet, there was a uprising, and they knocked out. They being the people who were in the uprising, the rebels. They weren't rebel alliance, but they were just local Mantuine people who revolted, and they did some significant damage to the local garrison that was there, including taking over an imperial fortress, and that was too much. Getting something that cost that much got the attention of higher imperial command, so they sent out a small fleet, this fleet, to deal with the issue. Now there's another fleet at this, let me get it out of the way, at this place called Fest. And I don't know, see, I don't think he would, you see, I seem to be on a roll, yeah, or something. I forgot exactly what the whole thing was, other than calling those guys the liars that they were. I don't remember what the rest of the Bitch Fest was about. But oh yeah, them being historians and all that. Bunch of crap. Stupid. Um, well, anyway, so the Fest thing, I don't think any of my players are in here. I only, you know, I wouldn't think that they would do that kind of cheating. So I'm just gonna, uh, but I mean, technically you're playing, but I don't think you're going to keep. You aren't really going to play all the time, are you? I mean, because I'm about to give spoiler alerts if you're going to play. But anyway, sorry, folks. It takes about 10 seconds for people to reply. But anyway, so I'll take that as a no. But anyway, what you do is you just say, "Hey, I want this fleet to move to this." Let's say they want to go to the Markabee Star. So what they do is as the DM give them uh, a reply saying, "Okay, it's going to take so many hours or so many days for you to travel through hyperspace to get to that point." And they go, they'll either say, "No, that's going to take too long. I want to do something else," or they'll go, "Okay, I'll do that." And then I have a schedule sheet. I say, "Okay, so that fleet is in hyperspace for this amount of time. There's 4 hours per turn. So let's say it takes 12 hours to get there. Okay. So for 3 turns, they're in hyperspace. And on the end of that third turn, they're going to arrive at that star system right here. So that's kind of how you move around. And well, what do you want to do when you get there? Well, I want to invade the planet. All right. Well, we'll do that. So you just kind of write down a basic idea of what you want to do, hand it to me, and I arbitrate it in that way. Um, the hell was that? Dude. Yeah, not all the time. So it doesn't matter. So anyway, so what is that? Well, I can't even answer. So I don't know if there's people that are what. See, I got this thing where I'm wondering if people are watching. Well, whatever. If you want to be a cheater, you can be a cheater. I don't give a shit. But Festus is part of the construction of the Death Star, which isn't finished yet. So it's got this research laboratory and military base on it, and that's being protected by the troops from the Star Destroyers and a little fleet of Star Destroyers. They're protecting it, and they have an insurgent resistance on their planet as well. So that player controls basically. It's not as cut and dried, but basically everything in the box. Like that's his area. I can't really make the thing do the whole box, but that's his area of that's his sector. This section. So he operates dealing with everything. All these white dots are planets or space stations or something like that. So what I'd like to, I mean, obviously you're never going to get enough people for each for each square of this thing, but get a few more people that can handle some forces and things like that. And anything that isn't controlled by a human will get controlled by reaction roll. And a reaction roll is just this, like let's say you go as you're role playing, you go into a store, and and you say, I want to buy that. And the store guy goes, okay, it's 15,000. And you go, what? 15,000? That's way too much. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10. And the reaction roll is you roll on a die and it says, it'll tell me as the NPC what response the shopkeeper gives to the player based on that. You might say, go, no way, 15's my lowest offer. Or, well, let me think about it, and haggle back and forth. But I'm not going to haggle for you or for that NPC, because if I do it without any reaction roll, people might scream bias or something like that. I think I can do it without bias, but maybe not. So just to make everybody feel like it's on the up and up and even, you have a list of, he totally goes for it and the deal's made. He counter offers, halfway in between, something like that. And then other ones would be like, yeah, he says, no, I need at least this much. And then maybe 500 less. It's just a series of different reactions from super negative to super positive, and you roll the die and you figure out which one it is. And then and that can be done for everything from haggling for a candy bar to diplomacy about joining the rebellion or something like that. And there's reaction rolls for military and things like that too. So that way you can control everything without being biased, and everything that isn't controlled by players. But it helps to have more players. So, and the same thing goes with economy. That what this original video was supposed to be about is the economy is that you might negotiate a deal. We want to pay a monthly fee to the government of one of these planets because they have to ban a gas reserves, and you kind of pay for the claim. And you say, if we pay you this much money, you'll let us extract this many cubic feet of it, or cubic yard, or whatever the hell, some sort of deal like that. And then you can take that resource once you show up with your extraction equipment and all that. So that's how the game works. Simple as that. And you can do that with anything. So that happens for every turn. And I do that because the way I do that is I'm not sitting rolling dice for everything that's going on, because obviously when people hear me say this, they go, how could you possibly do that? Look at all that stuff out there. You can't roll all that up. It would take more time to do that than to play the game, blah, blah, blah. All right. But what I do is I have a program. I have a dice rolling program, and there's people that'll go, well, dice rolling programs, they're not really all that random. Well, they're random enough, and they're equally as random for everybody. So it plays out. I understand the argument. I'm familiar with it. I know I took enough programming, but it's not that, it's all right. So plus on this thing, I can even do this. And actually, so it can be done. But that drives the world, including the economics and the logistics. I have a giant control schedule and a giant spreadsheet that you just hit F9 and roll something. Yeah. So oh yeah. Well, what's going to start? We're going to start playing later at night anyway. We were going to do like we actually, like you were saying, hey, try 7 o'clock and all that, see what happens. We tried it, and there's too many other people that have a bigger following than we do right now. So everybody was watching those other shows mostly. So we started doing them later at night and realized we were getting more people listening. At least the numbers said so. So, and she's kind of a night owl anyway. Yeah, isn't that neat? So you can do that. Now, again, that's just, but you still, that'd be like rolling a lot of dice. But there's also this thing. Where is that? Let's see if I can find it. So you might, I mean, might be able to play later at night, but I get it. You got, oh, I can't find it. But there's a little, like, there's one of those kind of popper, like Sorry had, you know, it was like that bubble that you pressed and it rolled the dice inside the thing. There's those two. So anyway, so the whole running the thing randomly by dice roll, even though it's gigantic, that's handled. That's handled just by using, you know, programming and software and stuff like that. That's one of the, sorry for drinking on the mic, but I'm so dry. But that's one of the other benefits of playing online. Not that you can't do that face to face. It just, I mean, everything's run by a computer, so why not? But it allows the game to be played like that. Yeah, that would be cool. The more the merrier. I got a lot of people. Hopefully some of these people will join up. So, but the other stuff you do with the economy is it's one of these deals where, because it's a virtual online game, a lot of the things that are being done, people would go, there's no way that, you know, to bog the game down, take too long and all that. It's automated by spreadsheet and stuff like that. So it doesn't bog the game down. And it isn't even anything you have to worry about as a player. All you have to do, like, is make the deal and give some orders. All the technical or mathematical stuff is, I mean, you can roll dice for combat because people like to roll the dice as you know, it's no fun if you know, somebody else makes the roll for that, but all the other stuff, you know, so you can roll that and stuff like that, but all the other stuff is kind of running in the background on little machines that I made on Excel sheets. But the reason I do it is so let's say, take this. Generally in West End games, I don't know about FFG and all, or, you know, Fantasy Flight and all that, because I've read through their stuff, but I've never played it, and their lore is maybe different. So, but anyway, there was always discussion about the hit and run tactics, attacking logistical convoys of the Imperials as rebel pilots and all this stuff. It was in all the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter games and stuff like that. So that's why I have convoys of shipping going from place to place on an Excel spreadsheet. So as a rebel player, your intelligence might be able to deduce the schedule or the location or the route of one of these things, and then you can you don't have to worry about how the spreadsheet is doing it or even look at one. All you're going to get is the information that, hey, rebel intelligence has determined that there is a, you know, a raw material convoy that's going from this place to this place, and we have, you know, assets in that area. We could stage a mission, we could attack it, we could steal it or destroy it or whatever like that if you chose to. So it just gives you the information to plan attacks. It's really cool that way, as a player, to be able to do that sort of thing, instead of having, you know, these set piece battles where, well, here's the scenario we just made up, you know, and it just kind of happens naturally as you play through this larger campaign. So it takes a couple of things for a player, and not very much. It doesn't take much effort, but it does take, you know, you got to really like it. Because if you're like, well, this is kind of cool, and you play 2 turns and then leave, then you just, you know, I know a lot of people don't care, but then you ruin it for everybody else. And it is something that requires playing, not a lot. You don't even have to play live. You can just play by post. But if you're going to play by post, we need the post. If you keep saying, "Oh, I don't have to," because I played a game where I had people who are like, "I don't have time to write the post." What? It's like 3 sentences, and because they would never turn theirs in on time, everybody else had to wait, because the point is that every player sends in their post for the turn, and then I take those posts and I process them and give output. Okay, here's what happened to you, and here's where, I do all this stuff. And if I've got to wait for one, then everybody else has got to wait for that one too, and it ruins the game. So you have to have people that are really interested enough to and courteous enough to fill out. But it's not like you're filling out a tax form. Shit, it takes more time to write a Twitter post. So it's a lot like Rebellion, the computer game, in the way it plays out. Yeah. Well, you can go to Discord here. I have a Discord channel, and you can post it there, or you can email it to me. But a lot of people don't like to give out email because they think they're going to get spam for it and all that. So we just give you the Discord. And once I can get to the stupid box okay, there we go. Having a little trouble with the paste, but you can do this. Yeah, email or text. I mean, I've got a phone number that I don't mind giving, because it's like a VPN phone number. So if you want to text it to me over that VPN phone number, fine. Email, text, post in Discord, whatever. I would tell you to give it to me in Twitter if you felt like it, but Twitter isn't reliable enough. I've had people go, "Hey man, I sent you something on Twitter. How come you didn't see it?" Because Twitter didn't let me for whatever reason. So I also have a forum. Forums are old, and a lot of people don't like to use them just because they're old. I don't know, but it works perfectly fine. And you're welcome. We'll have a section where you can just, post me your information there if you so desire. So I can't make it any easier than that. It's just, you can lead a horse to water. What the hell was that? Did you see that? What the hell was that? But my screen flickered. Oh, Discord is a kind of chat channel program. It'll run on anything. It'll run on Apple or whatever. You just go to you don't have to pay for it. Just go to the store or the app store or whatever and download it. And it's just like everything else. You got to, what's your email and your password and all that crap. You got to do that. Sorry. But once you're in, you can join that. And it's got a little text spot where you can chat to everybody else on it. It's like a party line. It's like a text party line. I got about 30 or 40 people on it right now. And you can chat to everybody or one single person. And there's a section for Star Wars where you can just go, "Here's what I want to do." And you just go, name of your fleet or the name of your division or whatever unit your or character's name or whoever you're playing. Just go, fleet number 1, Rebellion. We want to, attack the Imperials at Sullust or Tatooine or whatever. And you just write that out. And then I go, okay, so that's what they're doing. And there's a section of a little like a word processor thing that you can look at that says, here's all the things you can do. Go into hyperspace, travel through hyperspace, go into orbit. It's got a list of all the things that you can do and how many turns it takes to do them. And so you just write down the things, you just go through that list. Oh yeah, that's the thing I want to do. That right there, attack when in system. Okay. That's what I want to do. Fleet 1 attacks and this target. Okay, then you got a battle. So if you want to, you can do two things with a battle, and most people will choose the second option, which is okay. I would sure love to see more people choose the first option, but I know it ain't going to happen. But it's there, and the first option is you and whomever you're fighting schedule a session where you can come to Discord and use a microphone. You don't have to actually use a microphone, but it sure does help. And fight out the battle on Tabletop Simulator, where you got little miniatures and you roll dice to attack each other and stuff like that. But most people, I think, I could be wrong, and I hope I am, but I think most people go, that takes too long, and I don't have, I work on Tuesdays and all that stuff because people have lives. I get it. So the second option is you do what is called auto resolve. And what that is the forces that you've committed all have, and again, you don't have to calculate any of this. This is just how it works so that you know, is they all have, like a combat value. And so the total combat value for all the ships in your fleet or all the troops in your division or whatever it is are totaled up and then compared with the combat value of your enemy. And then all you do is you just roll, basically one die, sometimes two, but big deal. You just roll a die and it gives you an answer, and then you'll know who won. And it takes literally that long. It's as simple as that. So, and what you'll get, it won't just be, oh, by the way, you won. It'll be worded like a report from one of your soldiers in your division or whatever. Sir, we've taken the enemy and we've assaulted that hill and victory is ours. And we've encouraged 30% casualties, but wiped out the enemy, or, something like that. And okay, so now you know what happened. Kind of a little mini 3 or 4 sentence story that you can read as fast as you read a Twitter post. That's it. So there's people doing it right now. And sometimes I give them about a half a page of stuff and they're happy with it. It's like a little story. They get to read what happens. And then they go, here's what I'm going to do in the story. And then I tell them what happened based on the choices that they made. And then when combat happens, they can just roll the dice a couple of times. And so it turns out to be a really, quick and easy way to play. A lot of people think it's not as fun as playing around a table with a bunch of people for a couple hours or whatever. I'm up for that, but most people don't have the time. So that's how you play it. It's called play by post. So, and that's bored 2 people right out of the room. So, oh well. It's very easy. And the economy thing is very, very simple. All you need to know is, depending on who you're playing, depending on what you're doing, are you a hut? Do you want to run drugs? For these reasons, things like that. Where to, and what ships are you going to use? What kind of disguise are they going to use, or whatever, and things like that. And are you successful? Here's how much money you made, that sort of thing. So it's really fun. It's one of these games that it's a lot more fun with a lot of people, because it's about multiple. The difference between this and Rebellion is the Rebellion game was just Empire and Rebellion fighting a war. This isn't just that. That's going on. But then there's huts and criminal organizations that have their own goals and their own means of doing things. And that's happening too. And you can play one of those. And you might be a hut, trying to run drugs or guns or something like that. But here's the thing. A lot of people choose the huts and stuff like that because people are leaving. That's too bad. I think it's very interesting. People are listening to it and they're leaving. So maybe it's not as interesting to other people as it is to me. Oh, well, but one of the great things is, I'll go find something else to do with my time. I mean, this is the kind of game I want to play. If people don't want to play it, I don't have other games I want to play. So whatever. Um, but it's if you play the Huts, don't think that you won't have you won't have as much combat. Some people are like, well, I don't want to choose a side, and I just want to be somebody who makes a bunch of money. Okay, and that's what the Huts do, but they get boarded. They're not without conflict and combat and stuff like that. So if you think that you're avoiding any type of combat, there's no side that doesn't have that. But other than that, you go ahead and play as you want. So if you want to role play in Star Wars, because a lot of people, I think they might be going, oh, I thought this was a role playing game, and they're leaving. Let's see, make sure that's not happening, because there could be a lot of people that. But if you want to role play in there, I mean, first of all, everybody is role playing, no matter what you're doing. We have a guy who controls a flotilla of Star Destroyers. He's role playing as a captain. It's still role playing, even though you're, some soldier fighting a war. So, but if you want to do like a role playing session where, yeah, a little bit like that too. But like Rebellion, you have characters that can go do missions. So say you're one of those characters, or you want to play that way as a character, just doing missions. So one of the other commanders that run your team will say, we need you to go to, Sullus Van and do espionage against the Empire there. Find out what kind of troops are being held there. Find out how many ships are in orbit there, or whatever it is. So that can be a Star Wars RPG, which I will run. Now, playing RPG, I mean, technically you can play that by post if you want. But if you want to sit down and have me be the GM and run an actual role-playing game, we'll do that. It'll be based on the mission that you've been ordered to do or chosen to do, if you're a HUD or whatever. But it'll be within this same campaign story and world. So it'll have an effect on everybody else, even if they're, not necessarily everybody else, but it'll have an effect on the rest of the world, the rest of the galaxy. And it'll happen while everything else is happening too. So there'll be players giving me, their orders for their fleets to go fight wars and stuff like that. And at the same time, you're flying around in your, smuggler ship trying to, maybe smuggle spice to a planet or something like that. And you might run into the Imperials who don't like smugglers, something like that. There may be some crossover and stuff like that. So, but the default will be play by post. Everybody has to be present to do any type of in-world or online RPG thing. Hopefully that'll happen, but it's probably not very likely. But that way you can still play and not have to wait around for this one guy who says, well, I can't do it till Friday. Okay, but maybe the other guy can only do it on Thursday. Fuck it. We'll just do play by post. You guys can't meet at the same time, which is understandable. People have different schedules. But if you could, then you could run it as a campaign. So I think that's where people have started to bow out of the thing. I had 6 people watching. Now I got 3 people watching. They probably think, oh, that's too complicated. That's what fucking everybody says about everything. So, that's why these games, they're a lot of fun, and I wish I could play them, but I just get, I don't want to play some tiddlywink version. I want to play a big game and have a lot of fun with a lot of people, or I don't want to bother with it. So So we'll have to see. Had a couple people follow. We'll have to see. Yeah, to me it's not, but some people they seem to say that about everything. But oh well. But anyway, that's all it is. So if you're listening and you're not communicating, but you're hearing what we're saying, you can ask for the Discord link, and you can go in and see some examples of people doing this, and you can see how simple it is. And it literally is just some people going, my Star Destroyer is going here. I'm launching my TIE fighters to do a recon here. Just little things like that. Okay, so here's what happened. Like, yeah, I'll read one to you. Shit, maybe that'll help. It is, and it's not. I'm not reading you a bedtime story. It's not something that's going to take 2 hours or whatever. People are not very patient. But just a real quick one. So here is an intelligence briefing to the Imperial Star Destroyer Triumphant from the Fleet Intelligence Division. The subject was civilian unrest and resistance propaganda on Fest. So this was a reaction to a guy named Dave Brown who's playing with us. He plays a character called Captain Falstaff, and he's the one in charge of a flotilla of Star Destroyers in the sector that I showed earlier. And he had his Star Destroyers bombard the capital city of Mantooine and kill thousands of people, and because he's a bad guy, he's the Imperials, and so he wiped them out. And the information, the news of that destruction got out to other planets, including Fest, where Fest is a planet that also has its own insurgency. So, and this was a response. In the last 18 hours, the following hostile incidents have occurred in the town of Yorhan on Fest. Attack 1. Location, an outdoor bazaar in the town center. Off-duty Imperial soldiers were shopping and targeted. Attack method. A civilian model XP-34 Landspeeder drove past a crowded shopping area. Occupants opened fire with blaster carbines on a group of Imperial armored personnel. Casualties: 4 Imperial were killed, 2 Army personnel, and 2 naval ratings. 9 wounded, including civilians caught in the crossfire. Attackers fled at high speed. Attempts to track the speeder have been unsuccessful. Attack number 2 at a motor pool bombing. The Imperial motor pool, 1.3 kilometers outside of Yorhan. Station vehicles and maintenance personnel were the target. An improvised explosive device planted near the refueling station exploded, killing 5 Imperial, destroying 5 Imperial vehicles, 2 speeder bikes, 2 transport speeders, and 1 ATST were destroyed. 7 troopers and 14 wounded. Multiple of the 14 are in serious condition. Forensics indicate detonator triggered by remote. No known rebel cells have claimed responsibility as of yet. The third was a hollow network breach. A hijack was broadcast. Battle footage of Mantooine's destruction stolen from the ISD Triumph's memory banks was broadcast. A stormtrooper gauntlet soaked in blood with the Rebel Alliance signia burned into the backplate. The word murderers flashing across the screen. A digitally altered voice states that justice is was cut off before it finished the word coming. The signal was blocked. Imperial technical teams restored normal transmission within 10 seconds of that point. Broadcast replaced by an Imperial insignia and the message, please stand by, technical difficulties. And then he gets an intelligence assessment of who they think did it and some steps that they recommend taking. So it's a little bit more than a Twitter thing. But in that case, it was really cool. And he was very excited by it. I think he found it. But it wasn't, that's all. It's like a memo. It's not like you're reading pages of anything or anything like that. So I think they tune in and they hear you're talking about it and they might not know where to go and join in. Yeah, that might be it. So again, you can play at the Discord here. The problem I've had with Discord is very few. But one thing is giving people these links. The links are set to stay forever, but they don't. I don't know why. I hit the button. It says to stay. It says it's a permanent link. But sometimes after 3 hours, it goes away. Sometimes after 7 days, it goes away. So if you see the link and you copy and paste it and go, oh, I'm going to tuck that way and join later, it may not let you in. And if I knew how to rectify that issue, I absolutely would. I've looked around. I've asked technical support. I haven't gotten any real help. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm just hunt me down and I'll give you another one. I don't know why it does that, but here is my Twitter handle. If you have Twitter, you can contact me there. If you are a Blue Sky person, you can get me at Blue Sky. I literally have to remember. I have so many of these, I cannot remember them all. Sorry. You just give me a minute. I think I can change this so it's a little easier to remember. I just, on my list of things I have to do during the day, I keep forgetting this. But there's me at Blue Sky. So anyway, you can contact me at those places. Yep. And here is, oh, I'll get it right yet. I'll give you an email as well, which will take a second. But anyway, I'll put out that email. And you can contact me in those places if you want to get involved. We can set you up on the Discord server. Now, here's the thing. I'm all about, I really want to get people to play, and I'm all about choices. And so I also have a gilded server. That's a mirror of the Discord server. Because some people have, I don't know, I've run into more than one person who's been, I don't like Discord and all that sort of stuff. So I'll have to get that link because I haven't used it in a long time. But if you absolutely want to play, but absolutely refuse to use Discord, we can do that. So, and here is the here's that. Yes, it's a little silly. I'm a big Jim Henson fan. So yeah, that's right. It's Kermit the Frog. Yeah. I'm not very original. But anyway, so you can get a hold of me there. Give you any other details that you want to know. But another great way is just to, I'm going to start. I actually have already started doing these lives on a daily basis. Feel free to type into the chat, say, hey, hook me up. I had somebody just earlier ask me for the Discord link. I gave it, and they joined right up. So that's how you can get involved. You don't need TTS, though it really, really helps. And I can only accommodate you so far if you don't. In that, if nobody has it, it might be hard to work with it. But if a few people don't have it, I think we can work with it. The way what I do is I show it just like this. So if you don't have or want TTS, you can watch a stream like this and make assessments and things like that. But it's a lot better if you if you just have the TTS. It regular price it's $19.95. It often goes on sale for half price. So I don't get any money off of that. I'm not some stooge pushing software for I would would I love an affiliate program? You bet your booty, but I don't have one. I just like to use TTS because I've had it for years and I don't have to spend any more money. I've already spent the $20 on it and it does exactly what I want it to do. As far as it's 3D, it's a great way to have miniatures without having miniatures. You don't have to add in some overlay to roll dice because the dice are right in the thing. So it's the cheapest I don't know if it's really a VTT technically, but whatever. It's just a great way to have this stuff laid out. Works really well for me, and I think it will work really well for you. So, but if you want to play a miniatures game as part of this, or if you just want to play a miniatures game, because I love to do that too, hook me up. We can play, but I play through TTS. I have miniatures, but I live in the apartments and the miniatures are in storage and I can't use them here in the apartment. I can only use virtual miniatures. But there we go. But it also helps to play this game if you have access to Tabletop Simulator and the room that has the giant map for your faction. But anyway, other than that, there really isn't anything you need other than downloading Discord, which is free if you don't have it, or Guilded, which is also free if you don't have it. A mic would be nice, not strictly necessary, but sometimes it's helpful to be able to have a conference with people where you can speak, voice to voice, but we can work with you. I would love that. And I do actually have some videos of us playing. And I would, how I get more videos of people playing to show? Get more people to play. And that's why I'm hoping that if there's anybody watching here, that they'll jump in and play. But there is some of us playing. Somewhere there's some, I'll get that out, of Tony here playing. But there's also, just recently, here on the channel, the YouTube channel that we have, called Star Wars. Let's get the right title so you can find it. It is called Me and Buttons. Have trouble pressing the right buttons. Star Wars live play, boarding action. Star Wars live playthrough, Star Wars live play part 3. These are all videos of us playing. That's us there. The shared link right there. Here's our, let's get this. It's easier to just read and more relevant. There we go. You can join us there. Please like, share, subscribe, and join up. Not only do we have live plays, we talk about games. We have shows every night. Me and my co-host Magenta. Right now, she's got a bad case of the flu. So it'll just be yours truly until she recovers. But you can also contact her. She's good at this address. She'll answer any questions and work with setting you up as well. So there's our handle on YouTube. Absolutely. So questions, comments from anybody else as to what you're seeing? Bum, 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 bum. Well, anyway, what do you think? What else can we talk about and show you or discuss? Yeah, I don't go out because I ain't playing that, but she's got grandkids and they go to public school and the public school's got it. Of course, it goes through kids like wildfire because they're all touchy feely, um, and no washy. So they came over and visit and promptly gave it to her, which is not good because she's already sick. So we don't know. She's Magenta's great. She's kind of new to gaming, and she plays and gives you a perspective from somebody who's learning these games, whereas I give a perspective of somebody who's been playing them for a long time. Who knows how long she'll be out? She is diabetic as well, and that makes recovery from flu a little bit more lengthy and difficult, unfortunately. So we're all hoping and praying everything goes well and she gets well as soon as possible. But I'm sure she'll be out for a couple of more episodes at the very least, and she deserves it. She needs to get better. So. Hopefully it won't get her that bad because she is in rough shape and she can't handle it. And I talked to her and she sounded real bad and weak. So it's a little concerning. When you're that, you've had other things. They were concerned she had pneumonia for a while earlier. If she has some pneumonia and she's got flu on top of it, that's people of that age it starts becoming a life-threatening issue as opposed to just, I'm sick for some days and I'm puking and stuff like that. But so a little bit worrisome. Hopefully she'll pull through. But in the interim, I'll be holding down the fort and I'll be doing these lives alone. We'll be talking about the Star Wars thing. Love to play some of it. We would be playing it if Magenta was around, but she's not. So if you are interested and want to get involved, you can play. The other things we'll be talking about is certain war gaming and some RPG, other types of content or stuff like that. Be talking about West End games, Star Wars a lot. I've kind of chilled out on fantasy. It's overdone, in my opinion. I just, played a lot of it. Time for something new. And the whole RPG scene, at least on Twitter, is kind of a whole, everything's hard. It's over analysis, overly critical. Hell, I thought I was bad. People are just like, oh, God, he rips on everything. Shit, I'm nothing compared to some of these dudes and gals. And nobody plays. They just talk. So I want to do more playing. But, showing people how to make maps and showing new people how to get involved is great too. And show them, look, sometimes you got to stay away from some of these folks. They may seem like they're very knowledgeable, and they very well might be, but they're not about playing. They're just wine snobs that talk about these things. Well, I know that one, and they'll circle it around their nose and taste it and tell you all about it and all the details, and they'll they'll give you their snotty opinions and tell you, no, you're not doing it right and all that shit. But when it comes down to actually sitting down, having some fun and playing any of these games, no, it's a real kind of a weird thing. So we're doing more like, and I do that to a degree. And I finally caught on that, hey man, you kind of sound obnoxious. So I'm trying to cool it. And just get back into having fun. The thing is, for me, fun doesn't mean that I have to make the thing, I like being involved. I like being completely immersed in a very large ongoing game with a large group of people. I don't mind playing, some adventure that lasts 2 or 3 hours, one session or two sessions, but it just never seems like enough. I want to really get into something. And that's why I play games like this. This is getting into something. There's a lot of things that can develop. It can be very interwoven and interesting, and it generates more scenarios. One of the reasons I started playing these games way back in the day this way is I didn't have a lot of money. And I didn't have money to go run out and buy the latest module. And I didn't want to spend half the time that I had to play in reading through a module, committing it to memory, preparing to, because I ended up usually being the forever DM. And I just didn't have that kind of money. But this thing, I can play through it with a bunch of people and have fun doing it. And the other thing I can do is because I'm keeping records of everything, they become scenarios in their own right. So, for example, the boarding action, if you go looking at that thing being my YouTube catalog, and you watch that boarding action, that can be a scenario. Now, to be fair to myself, if you look at the boarding action and you go, Jesus, there's a lot of hours. There's a lot of hours of coverage of it because we play very relaxed. We being me and Magenta. We're not doing we're trying to entertain the crowd. We're speaking to people like Tony who come to watch and have conversation. And as I said, Magenta has flu, and flu doesn't just show up overnight. She thought at first she was just getting a cold or something like that. So she was feeling under the weather, and she was taking NyQuil and stuff like that. So she wasn't at full 100%. We don't play very fast just because we like to relax, and we're doing it on a show. So that's why the time of play of the video is lengthy. If you sat down and you played this game just to play this game with me, not that you can't be social with each other as you're playing, but it's not doing justice to say, well, based on that, on the length of that video, this game must be really complicated and take a long time to play. Because there's whole swaths of that time where it was us answering questions and having conversation and not playing. So be fair. But it doesn't take that long. But anyway, it generates a ton of scenarios and stuff like that I can use to play with other, to play miniature games and stuff like that. So, want to see some? Now that I can show you some more of it. Questions, comments, anything from anybody? All these folks seem to be watching, at least according to my counter. Got anything to say? I'm going to go back to setting up. Tony, can you think of anything else that sounds like it might be pertinent to share with the folks who are a little less chatty? It's all right. We understand. It's not required, but we do encourage, we feel like being social. We like to be social, so feel free. But it's your thing. You do what you want to do. So, anything? Yeah, right. You start running out of deals. So what you're watching now, and I know it's not exactly, Thrillsville maybe, but I'm setting up where our, other fleets are, and it's based on. I mean, it's not really based in any one particular uh, lore or story. People who are, there's some people that just and great. Um, it's neat that voraciously read the fiction that comes with it, with Star Wars. I know they've written a lot of books about the Clone Wars and things like that, and you might see things will go, well, that doesn't jive with what I've read or what I saw on the cartoon. I know there's, and all that. I understand. Um, there is a vast array of fiction, too much for any one particular person um, to, or I can't put it all in. I have, again, I'm not. I didn't buy a lot of that stuff. I'm kind of cheap. I'm kind of poor. I always like to make my own stories and things like that. So I do have some books. I do have some sources, but I kind of have my own storyline for this particular campaign. So things may look out of sorts comparative to somebody who has some sort of encyclopedic knowledge of particular portions of lore. So, but the other reason I did that is because I played where everybody was just gaming. I had a couple of problems. I had people that just they wanted to see the cartoon played out like a railroad in front of them on a game board, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted it to be fresh and new. I wanted it to be where you weren't really sure, not always sure, where everything is. I wanted there to be a kind of fog of war involved in some of this. So there's a lot of, it's kind of, I guess, if you want to be, hard on me, you could just say, well, you just made it up. Okay. A little bit. But it's still got a little bit of a close to. Anyway. And yeah, some of the history in the timeline, the Western Reaches campaign is often listed as being something that happened just after the end of the third episode or whatever like that, something like 18 or 17 BBY, and this is more like 3 BBY. Yeah, there's a little bit of a change there. I didn't like the large gap in between, so I kind of squeezed that a little bit in some cases and just kind of switch things around again, just because it made things. So what are the lines connecting the planets? Oh, yeah. So the lines connecting the planets are hyperspace routes, basically highways in space. The wider the ones are major, well-known, well-used routes. The thinner ones are a little bit more back road. The circles are really not even something to pay any attention to. They're not really part of it. It's just I can't make map this big, so I had to grab one. But they're basically roads. And so when you travel in the West End Games RPG in hyperspace, it's based on, are you on a major highway, a minor highway, or no highway at all? No highway. And highways are really not the term they use. Hyperspace lanes are what they're using. And if you're on a major one, you'll go faster. And you'll have less of a chance of having a mishap. And then with the minor ones, obviously you go slower and have a little bit higher chance of a mishap. And if you don't use one at all, then you have a much higher chance of a mishap, and you'll go even slower. And a mishap is, it's kind of based on, I mean, I shouldn't say it's based on, but if you remember the movies and the original one, traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy. If you fly too close to a supernova or, all that shit, that's what they're saying, that there's asteroids and other things that, nebula and things like that can change or affect hyperspace. And you might run into something because it's not a well-charted area. So you can decide to use a hyperspace lane, or you can decide not to. And the choice is basically this: get there fast and safe, but you might be monitored. You might be caught. They're usually patrolled by the Empire and stuff like that. Or be real stealthy, but slower, and maybe bump into something that your nav computer didn't know was there, like some asteroid or something like that. So it gives a little bit of strategic depth and interesting choices to how you move around and in the game and stuff like that. Now, if you've played West End games and you're familiar with what I'm talking about, you'll know that long space travel, in a lot of cases you're talking weeks and months and stuff like that. I shortened all that up a little bit because I didn't want somebody that was playing the game and decides to make a long jump without realizing now everything that you're in control of is basically out of action for these many turns, because the turns are 4 hour long, and some of these jumps can be damn near 3 weeks or a month or something like that. Anyway, so I just kind of shortened it up just to keep things going and keep it simple for people and keep them engaged. But I wanted to have, I didn't want it to be instantaneous. And the reason is it doesn't play out any better as a game if you can do that than if it takes too long. It really works with a happy medium to put some logistics and thought process in your traveling and make it something that you have to think about, and make it so that it isn't just a teleport. So, but yeah, you'll be too. So when you say I want a hyperspace somewhere, you write that down, and you'll get a reply from me based on some calculations that I've come across that aren't mine, but are somebody else's, that give a reasonable length of jump based on some criteria. And so basically what it is replicating is you or your navigator punching in the coordinates to where you want to go, and the nav computer coming back and telling you this is the estimated length of travel based on where we are and where you want to go and the route that you're using. And it won't be 100% accurate. So there'll always be a little bit of play. It might be it might take a little less time. It might take a little more time, not significantly, but just enough to make it a little bit more random. So there's a little bit of friction. And it's not completely impossible for it to be completely accurate, but it's not always completely accurate. It'll give you a range. So it's just a little strategy with the traveling. But that's what that's about. Yeah. It makes it real interesting. If you're trying to pursue somebody, if you're trying to intercept somebody, you have to have good intelligence. You have to know where they were, where they're going, and how long it'll take to get to the point where you want to intercept them. So you'll have to track their. You won't have to do a bunch. It's not like you're going to sit around and do a bunch of math. What it ends up being is a bunch of skill rolls for your intelligence people or whoever like that. But it'll give you a range of how well you know. Well, we kind of know where they're going, and we kind of have an idea of how long it'll take, but not precise enough that we can, go head them off somewhere. But it might be So once you start getting immobilizers involved, which are a weapon that can bring people out of hyperspace, then it starts to get real interesting in tactics and stuff like that. And without them, it gets interesting because then you have to, consider how do we trap somebody if we want to try, if we're the Empire and we want to trap some rebels, we don't have immobilizers yet. What kind of tactics can we use to show up and surprise them and keep them from just, spooling up and jumping jumping into hyperspace and getting away from us? So uh, it ends up creating a real fun cat and mouse situation for everybody playing. It's real neat. So you have everything you need to do to play any way you want. You know, if you're like, I remember West End Games and I want to play, as a smuggler, and just fly around doing missions and adventures and stuff like that, we got you. I really love space combat. I love sci-fi military, and I love and I love Star Wars. I want to do fleet battles, or I want to crush rebels with AT-ATs. Gotcha. Uh, you know, Anywhere you want to go. You just want to be some starfarer that just wanders around. I mean, we can do that. It might seem a little bit lonely and pointless in a giant world where all this other stuff is happening, but I mean, we can technically accommodate you. So whatever you want to do. So that's the idea, is just to have a living world where people can play as they want, and take the role that they want, and there's always something going around and something to do. So if you see this, if you're watching and you're not a bot, and you see the Ko-Fi stream bot coming through, the Ko-Fi will soon be filled with material, maps, modules, the rules, and maybe even the Excel sheets if I can get them, but some rules and stuff like that for some of these systems that you can purchase for yourself if you really like them. Some of the other rules I'm working on are medieval warfare, which can be used for mass battles in RPGs and stuff like that. Bunch of maps for war games. In the future, I want to do some maps for tactical maps for RPGs and stuff like that. I'm not real thrilled with the RPG crowd on Twitter. I thought I had found a bunch of people that were willing to play with me, and that's largely untrue. They're not really there to play, and so I'm kind of bummed out and burned out on RPGs a lot. But if we get people in this community, if we can develop a community here at Campaigns and Conquests that are as interested in playing as they are in learning or talking about these, because I like to talk about them too, but geez, there's a happy medium. Maybe we can get some games going and I can have some fun. I kind of feel downtrodden about the whole thing right now, but I have been making a whole lot of material for a whole lot of different games, some my own, some others, that I'm getting ready to post on places like Ko-Fi, where you can purchase them, and they aren't real expensive. So, yep, got a lot of campaigns. This is not the only campaign for Star Wars, by the way. I am a big fanatic for Star Wars. I have several other campaigns. Not all of them are well, they can be, but I suppose they don't have to be as giant as this. But this really isn't some huge, overly involved thing that, I mean, people might look at this and go, look at the size of this, you'll never get it. It's not that big of a deal. You can play it. It's not something that, think of it as a pizza. And you go, that looks like fun, but I could never eat the whole thing. Well, you don't have to. It's not meant for you to eat the whole thing. You're meant to go take your slice and play your slice. And your slice is digestible. The only person that's eating the whole pizza, it's not, now that I think about it, it's kind of a stupid analogy, but the only person that's handling everything is yours truly. And I've got it very automated so it won't it won't overwhelm me. So, and it'll be great for you if you're into this sort of thing because you don't have to play over the whole map. But in combination with enough other people, you still get to watch this expansive living world take shape and events happen all over the place that in some ways interrelate with what you're doing in one section of it. There's nothing barring you from going anywhere in the galaxy you want to, other than if you're a soldier and you disobey orders and they tell you to go here and you decide to go over there, there'll be consequences, just like any soldier that disobeys orders. But and for people who play RPGs and are real big agency fans, they might. I've had people go, well, that's not. You know, I like games with agency, and if you have to follow orders, then you're not making your own decisions. The first decision you've made is I want to play as Imperials in a war themed, military themed RPG, and you even if you're not a veteran, you know enough that that would be there's a chain of command in the military. You're not going to be Emperor Palpatine, so somebody's going to be your boss. So it is agency in that you've made the conscious and optional decision to be a member of an organization that has a chain of command by choosing that organization at the beginning of play. So no, I don't buy into that means you don't have agency. I had somebody play this one time and got all, they came in and tried to change everything and tell me I wasn't playing real RPGs because all sorts of reasons like that. But no, yeah, you'll be in a chain of command. Now, a lot of people go, well, I understand that, and that's why I don't want to be in a chain of command. I'm going to go play a hunt, and that's fine. But if everybody's playing a hunt, then it kind of ruins the game because the fun is to have other players, other humans who are scheming from their angle, whatever that angle is, galactic domination, galactic liberation, making some more money, but last time I played this, I had a glut of huts and a scarcity of rebels and Imperials. Hopefully that won't happen again. I can handle it. It still can be played. I just think it takes some of the wind out of the sails when people do that. But we shall see. Right now we have several people playing Imperial. Several being 3 or 4. So, and we have 3 or 4 playing Rebel. We haven't had anybody play Huts. Dave Brown wanted to play Huts, and I gave him the spiel about, well, too many Huts kind of spoil the soup. So he changed, and I was happy for that because they could use somebody like that. So I'm glad he did that, and I think he's having fun being a kind of an iron-fisted brute in the Empire. So Magenta's playing the Rebellion or parts of it. So whatever, What else? Want to see some more, Tony? Want to see some? Well, anyway, here, check this out. So we got a couple of the ship fleets out there. Then we got, let's see. Their thing. Let's go over to Fest and just finish one before we start another. Try to be a little bit less scatterbrained. So now I got to go through. I just had a brain. PR. Shoot. Ah, nuts. Oh. Yes. Okay, good. There's it I you know, it says there's 9 people in here. I can't believe there's 9 people and nobody else wants to say something. I wonder what that is. If it's bots or the thing just isn't counting right. Oh, I just went past it. Shoot. Hmm. Star Wars Risk is a game that can be played on Tabletop Simulator, by the way. I think all the pieces might still exist. So this is some reason. Sometimes this game does doubles of everything. So you're seeing 2 of each picture, unfortunately. But this is my collection of Star Wars stuff. I'm trying to find a particular thing and I'm having trouble doing it. The Tabletop Simulator is great. Like everything, you know, it's got strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes the search is a little bit of a weakness because it's literal. If you don't, you can search for something only if you know its complete name. It's not like Google where if you just put in, half of it, it'll kind of, which is understandable. It's not really meant to be a search engine. But I just suddenly had a senior moment and I can't remember the name of the thing that I'm looking for. And that means I got to hunt and peck. Here it is. Here it is. OPR. That's what it is. Okay. All right. I was putting in OPF or something and I just couldn't come up with what I was looking for there. So there we go. That's a big one, huh? I think I might go with. So what I'm looking for here. Here's one of those. These are going to be the models that represent the armies involved, ground troops. Oh, let's see. Pretty neat. So these also um, would be used to play the any miniature games that come up. You'd be little toy soldiers that we would use. This is just one group of them. A lot of them are broken, unfortunately, but um, but we'd be using those to, yeah, I just wanted to, there we go. Oh yeah, this one too. And, and that one. There's one other, and then I'm done. I get a little too carried away, but there's just one other. I can find it. Oh, that's a different thing. I'll get that later. All right. So, all right, here we go. Let's see. I might have to go back because this might be the wrong one as far as scaling. Well, that gets pretty small. Good. So let's see what happens if I get this one small. Not that small. Not small enough. We're going to go with that one because of the size. Even though it doesn't look as good, it gets smaller, and it doesn't have to look good because it's that small. Let's see what happens. Pretty neat, huh? That's a real nice looking. Look at that. Got the troops on it. Right. How about that? So those are the kind of things you play the Star Wars miniatures battles with. Now, I only use Star Wars miniatures battles in certain situations because it's one of those things that everybody goes, well, it was an okay deal as long as you didn't have too much. It was a kind of a skirmish game, and if you went too far, it bogged that game down, and all and all that stuff. I really hate to hear because I've actually played with significant numbers of troops on the table, and all that bog game down stuff is not true. Here's the thing about the bog the game down stuff. 9 times out of 10, you didn't like the game, and that's the real. But you found what was being done boring. If I did a lot of those things that people say bog the game down, but those details that people say bog the game down, I found interesting, and I also prepared that they had to be done. I would print out the charts and stuff like that. I hear a lot of people do this. They'll go, well, that game bogs the game down because you got to look at 15 charts. Usually 15 charts means 1 or 2. There's always hyperbole and exaggeration. The other thing is make a copy of it so you don't have to go flipping through pages. So, and I don't want to get into too terse like I did last night or whatever. But the thing is if you bring these up and people still scoff or mock or don't find that they're not interested in hearing your solution, you know that they weren't looking for one. And the whole bog the game down was just I didn't like the game. Now I told a person that tonight, and they got mad and said I disagree. But then they started putting out some subjective statements. Well, it doesn't really, and when somebody else says, no, it did for me. It's not fun. That's your opinion. You just stated your opinion like fact. Well, nobody wants to play with that rule because it makes the game not fun. It makes the game not fun for you. I had a blast using that rule. And he got mad. I don't want to waste any more brain power on it. Well, okay. So basically what he was saying is my opinion was shitty and I was some sort of troll or something like that. But it's just a matter of taste. And 9 times out of 10, when people say it bogs the game down, it's a matter of taste. But because it's so much of a prevalent thing, I have a mass battles type of system for larger miniatures battles that doesn't have detail, and that's really the issue. And so people go, oh, well, that's much faster. So we could still do epic looking cool miniatures games where you have some strategy involved in attacking a planet or fighting a battle, and it's not be all that stuff people say is hard or whatever. Or you can just roll one die and make it. To me, that's not fun. But I'm willing to swallow that somewhat bitter pill as far as battle in order to play the overall thing with people who wouldn't play it if they. So I'm willing to work with you, but it's it's a color movie shown in black and white if you don't fight out the miniature battles. So whatever. But anyway, if you're not familiar with Star Wars Miniatures Battle and you want to see for yourself before you make a decision, that would be great. I love people who have open minds, and we could use these small little things and play something that isn't overwhelmingly large, just so you can see how that system works and have some fun playing some miniatures. Um, you know, I'd be great for that. There's a great introductory scenario in the game, and it uses these cool kind of miniatures and all that. So anyway, but for here, they're just different types of they represent different types of military units. That will be used. So to indicate that there are garrisons and things like that. I think I forgot to take a stormtrooper out. Damn it. Crap. Well, anyway. So I wish I could get that one smaller, but there's just no way to get it smaller. I'll look for another one. So on Fest, there's a large military garrison. I'm going to have to go back and get that. Oh, no, I got this. So this is a hammers and slammers looking tank from the Empire. This is an early Imperial tank. I've been looking for a model of this for a long time. There used to be a bunch of them. They're calling it a Rebel tank, but it's actually an Imperial tank. Anyway, I like to have the West End game technology in there. This is something you saw only in West End games. So that's kind of cool. So actually, it's supposed to be this way. There we go. So anyway, so that represents an older kind of garrison unit, and this represents the big group that there's 9,700 troops and what is it, 30 ATSTs and 20 AT-ATs aboard a Star Destroyer. That's their ground component. They're kind of the Marines on their ship and stuff. And right now some of them they're being recalled, but they're still on the Mantooine surface. So that indicates that. This is kind of a rebel thing. So what you'll do if you get the tabletop is you log on to this and you just use it for planning and understanding what is going on where. You know, this is they'll have names and like this is let's see if I can get this to. So this is Task Force Falstaff. 2 ISDs, 1 VSD. One of the few things that you'll have to learn as a player in this is what the hell does ISD and VSD mean? There's some abbreviation. And all that means is the Imperial Star Destroyer, Victory Star Destroyer, just the class, and it just tells you what kind of ships are in that unit, because that unit is a model that's representing a whole bunch of people. Anyway, so here, anyway. Let's take a look at some more. Okay, well. I'm going to show you a different page. I guess. Trying to find a spot that I know is something I don't want to Be without. I'll just do this one. Okay. No, 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 no. Shit. Hit the wrong button. Sorry, folks. I don't really want to overwrite that one either, though. Wow. We'll just do this one. All righty. So when we get into here, yeah, when we get into oh boy, that's bigger than I thought. Oh, that's why it's going to do all that crap. So when we get into fleet battles, this is what they look like once the thing loads. Oy, oy, oy. So if you're watching this and wondering what's that all about, well, what happens is people make these models, and they have to be stored on remote hard drives like pastebin and stuff like that, and for various reasons, they choose to delete them from that shared storage because they have, you know, other things they want to do with that shared storage, or sometimes the company deletes them on accident, or somebody explained why sometimes they get deleted on accident. But anyway, that's what happens. But it's these kinds of ships when you can set them up to, so I don't use Armada. For anybody who's into uh, some of the FFG stuff, I don't have any of it, and I don't have the money or even the store near me to go buy it. So, but yeah, a lot of these models are patterned after Armada models. What I use to do this is um, a modified for simplicity and speed uh, variant of the mass battles in the West End Games RPG book. So it's real quick. It's real simple. It lets you maneuver your ships and make decisions as opposed to looking at charts and stuff like that. I would do all that for you. What little of it there is. So you just move your ships, make focus on tactics and stuff like that, and roll your dice, and I'll tell you what you need to get to hit, or to what kind of damage you're doing, and make it real exciting and go real fast. If the best way to play mass battles, miniatures, war games, is to have a referee that will do a lot of that stuff for you. All the complaints about having to look things up, about having to, charts are hard, or they slow the game down, or any of that shit, is to have somebody be a ref. I used to play these games at places like Gen Con, and there was always somebody that was a ref. It was a completely different experience than sitting around with a couple of impatient brothers who really wanted to play Atari half the time anyway, and got real fussy and fiddly every time that they had to look at something on a book. I played with other guys that were a little bit more, attentive, and they play for a while. But it when I would volunteer to run the game for them, it was a completely different experience and went much smoother. The reason that wargaming doesn't have that anymore is because most people go, I want to play the damn game. I don't want to be the ref. That's no fun. I don't have any time to game, and now you want me to be the non-game game guy. I get it. Um, but if you set up a war game where it's more like a role-playing game, in that being the DM is interesting, and you can do that easily, or you use something like, a DM service, like I have, it's all that it takes too long, it's too fiddly, or any of that crap. It just goes away. Now you just sit down, and somebody's handling all that for you, and all they're doing is, or all you have to do is ingest. Sometimes you need to know things. You need, like I said, you need to know, like, what an Imperial Star Destroyer is or something. Like, if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you got to learn a little bit about the pieces you're controlling and stuff like that. But that's a far cry from having to read a whole manual or have to use a bunch of charts or something like that. You can just sit down and play the game and say, okay, here's what I want to do, because this is my mission, and this is how I think I should accomplish it, and here's the tactics I want to use. And you have have a DM type of person that's handling the rest for you. Now all you have to hear is, oh, you want to shoot that TIE fighter down? Here's what you roll to do that. Oh, you did it. It blows up into a ball of fire, and yay, and then you go and play. And it's not about, what's the hit status of that? What's the armor class? What chart do I look for a +2 sword? All that goes away. Now you don't have to worry about any of that shit. You just have to play and have fun doing it, making interesting decisions. And if Tony's still here, and he said the same thing. He goes, if I like playing like this, because I've begged Tony to sit down and play some of the other games that some people say are too complicated, stuff like that, and he wasn't into it because whatever. But just not his thing. And there's charts and stuff, and everybody complains about charts and things like that. So, but if you have somebody who doesn't mind being a referee, great. But most people do because they want to play. My wife will only let me play on Saturday for 3 or 4 hours. I'm not going to be the guy I'm not going to watch everybody else play. So it usually requires some sort of service. When I say service, I ain't talking about a lot of money, but I'm talking about money. Because what happens when there's a need for something to be done that is unpleasant? You got to pay somebody. So, and it's not that unpleasant. I don't mind doing it, but I'm going to do it for free. And not a lot. I mean, I'll play the Star Wars campaign because I enjoy arbitrating that as much as playing it. But if you wanted to play a bunch of other war games, you might consider somebody like myself or the people that I have under me in my business, and pay a very small fee to have a very different and expeditious and interesting gaming experience that doesn't require keeping your nose buried in a book half the time. Yeah. I Are you there, Tony? I swear, dude, it says 8 every time. Like, it says 8 people every day. Every time I've been opening this up this week, it says there's 8 people watching, but nobody says anything. I don't know if it's true. I don't even think you're there anymore. I think I'm talking to my breath. Yeah. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's weird. Well, all right. Uh,